All right, if you're a Jeep owner, you know the feeling. That little light pops up on the dash and your mind just starts racing. Well, today we're going to crack one of the most common codes out there, the U110E. Let's dive in and figure out exactly what your Jeep is trying to tell you.
And there it is, that glowing symbol that could mean just about anything, right? It could be a loose gas cap, or it could be something way more complicated. But when you see that light and you pull the code U110E, it might sound intimidating, but it's actually pointing to a really specific system in your Jeep. So at its heart, the U110E code means lost ambient temperature message. Now that sounds super technical, I know, but all it really is a communication breakdown. Think of it like a dropped call between two really important parts of your car that are trying to chat about the weather outside. And the two components that aren't talking are the body control module, or BCM, which is basically the brain for all your car's electronics, and the ambient air temperature sensor, the AAT. The AAT is just like the car's outdoor thermometer. So the thermometer is trying to tell the brain how hot or cold it is, but for some reason, the brain just isn't getting the message. Okay, so if we've got a communication breakdown, our job is to figure out why. We're going to treat this whole thing like a detective case, and we've got a list of the usual suspects that we need to investigate. Here's our lineup of suspects. Could be a simple wiring issue, could be a faulty sensor, a malfunctioning control module, or maybe a deeper communication fault. This table right here, this is our roadmap. We're just going to go through these one by one, starting with the most likely culprit. Let's start with our prime suspect, the wiring itself. More often than not, the problem isn't with some big, expensive component. It's with the simple wires that connect everything together. Think about it. If the wire that connects the sensor to the BCM is frayed or cut or all corroded, it's just like a broken phone line. The AAT sensor could be shouting the correct temperature, but the message just gets lost in static and never actually makes it to the BCM. So here's your first mission. Get in there and just do a visual inspection. You're looking for anything that seems obvious, cracks in the wire's insulation, maybe some exposed copper or that nasty greenish-white crust from corrosion on the connectors. If you find a bad spot, a simple repair or replacing that section of wire might be all it takes to solve this whole case. Okay, but what if the phone line is perfectly fine? Well, then we have to look at the messenger itself. Let's open up our second case file, the AAT sensor. I mean, these sensors live a pretty tough life, right? They're exposed to rain, snow, heat, all the elements. So over time, they can just wear out and fail. If your wiring inspection came up totally clean, it's time to turn your attention to the source of the message, the AAT sensor. Your next mission is pretty straightforward. You just got to find that sensor. It's usually tucked away behind the front grille somewhere, and check it for any cracks or damage. Now, sometimes the fault isn't something you can see, but since they're relatively cheap, if the wiring is good, replacing the sensor is for sure the next logical, cost-effective step. Now we move on to our final and honestly least likely hardware suspect. This is the big one, the central command center. Let's open the case file on the body control module. The BCM, that's the electronic brain of your Jeep. And while it's a really tough component, it's not invincible. An internal failure, like a short or an open circuit, can basically make it deaf to the messages that the AAT sensor is sending, even if the sensor and the wiring are in perfect shape. And here's where we gotta be realistic. Diagnosing a faulty BCM is probably not a DIY job for most people. It takes specialized tools to test for those internal shorts. So your mission here might just be to take it to a mechanic you trust. If they confirm the BCM is the culprit, well, then it'll need to be replaced. So after looking at all the evidence and investigating all of our suspects, we can now lay out a super clear, logical path to close this case and finally get that warning light turned off for good. This right here is the diagnostic path. You don't guess, you start with the simplest and most common issue first, the wiring. If that looks good, you check the sensor, and only then do you start to investigate the BCM. This step-by-step approach is going to save you time, money, and a whole lot of frustration. Look, this code might seem really complex at first glance, but it's not some crazy mystery without a solution. By following a logical path, you can systematically figure out exactly what the problem is. It's all about having a clear plan and just not getting overwhelmed by it. So, you're now armed with the knowledge to tackle this thing head-on. Whether you're grabbing your tools to check out the wiring yourself or heading to your mechanic to have a really informed conversation, you are no longer in the dark. You've cracked the code. So what's your next move going to be?